The seventh moon blazed over the Altay steppes as Yell's howl shattered the night. Tengri's altar cracked under a storm that hurled boulders like arrows. Yet Umay's rivers had long since dried, their bones fueling the tempest's wrath. The Turkic clans huddled in their yurts, praying to Yell for mercy he would never grant. For the storm was not merely wind, it was the reckoning of a forgotten pact between gods and men. The Ergenekon legend whispered of a time when the Turkic people were trapped in a mountain for 7 centuries, their survival hinging on Yell's wrath to break the chains. Now the same storm that once freed them threatened to drown them. Shamanic fires flickered with offerings of horse bones and eagle feathers, their smoke curling toward the heavens in a desperate plea. In Ogu's textiles, wind motifs spiraled like the god's own breath, a reminder of his duality, creator and destroyer, life and death. Tengri's sky was a vault of secrets, where Yell, his unruly son, reigned as both storm and savior. The nomads knew the wind's voice. It was the language of the steppe, the heartbeat of their ancestors. Yet now it howled with a hunger that could not be sated. The steppes had always been a crucible where gods and mortals clashed, and where the fate of empires was written in the wind's passage. But this storm was different. It carried the weight of a forgotten pact, one that would soon demand a hero's sacrifice. The sky above the Altay steppes was no mere expanse of blue. It was Tengri's throne, a vault of secrets where the stars were his eyes and the clouds his breath. Below, the steppes stretched like a wound of endless grass, a sacred altar where every gust of wind carried the whispers of gods. Here, Yell reigned as both tempest and savior, his storms the heartbeat of the land. The nomads knew this. To defy the wind was to defy the sky itself. Yet Tengri, the sky god, was not without his laws. He ruled the heavens with a father's pride, but his unruly son, Yell, with a whip of lightning and a howl like a wolf's, danced to his own rhythm. The Ergenekon legend spoke of a time when the Turkic people were trapped in a mountain for 7 centuries, their survival hinging on Yell's wrath to break the chains. Now the same storm that once freed them threatened to drown them. Shamanic fires flickered with offerings of horse bones and eagle feathers, their smoke curling toward the heavens in a desperate plea. In Ogu's textiles, wind motifs spiraled like the god's own breath, a reminder of his duality, creator and destroyer, life and death. The Bogan, the shamanic priests, danced in circles during storms, their chants rising like smoke. Yell, son of Tengri, they cried, let your fury be our shield, not our doom. But the wind answered not with words, only with the howl of 1,000 wolves. Umay, the mother goddess, wept in her riverbeds, her tears fueling the storm's rage. The steppes, where Tengri's altar met the endless sky, had always danced to the wind's will. Yet now, the balance teetered on the edge of oblivion. The Ergenekon legend had warned of this. The storm was not just a trial of faith, it was a reckoning, a test of whether the Turkic people would bend to the will of the sky or defy it, and in the heart of it all the wind waited, watching. The tribe's elders gathered beneath the blood-red sky, their faces etched with desperation. The drought had cracked the earth like a serpent's spine, and the herds had withered to shadows. Only one path remained, to send a shaman to Yell's domain. They chose Korkut, a youth whose eyes held the fire of the steppe and whose voice could calm a wolf. The wind has spoken, the Bogan intoned, and only he may answer. Korkut climbed the sacred slopes of Tengri, where the sky bled into the mountains, and there, in the storm's eye, Yell appeared, not as a god, but as a man with a whip of lightning and a face like a wolf's. You dare walk the path of the storm? Yell's voice was the howl of 1,000 wolves. Then prove your worth. Ride the cloud without falling, outwit the Bozkurt who guard this mountain, and face Umay's sorrow. Fail, and the steppe will drink your bones. The first trial came at midnight. Korkut leapt onto a storm cloud, its surface a churning sea of silver. Lightning lashed his skin, but he clung to the stars, their cold light his only guide. The second trial was a dance with death. The Bozkurt, their fur black as night, circled him, their eyes glowing with ancient fury. He whispered the names of his ancestors, and the wolves bowed, their snarls softening to a growl, yet the third trial nearly broke him. Umay's river, once a lifeline, had turned to a pit of tears, her sorrow a tide that swallowed the land. Korkut fell to his knees, his breath stolen by the weight of her grief. Arrogance had been his flaw, believing he could command Yell, not earn his favor. The storm rose again, a wall of fury. "You are not worthy," Yell roared, the wind tearing at Korkut's soul. But in that moment, the youth understood. The wind was not a force to be conquered, but a voice to be heard. He offered his breath, his very essence, to the storm, and the sky, at last, stilled. The Bögen of the tribe gathered at the foot of Mount Altay, where the wind howled like a wolf's lament. They lit a fire of sacred herbs, saffron, juniper, and the dried heart of a steppe eagle, its smoke curling into the sky like a prayer. Chanting in Old Turkic, their voices rose in a rhythm that mirrored the storm's fury. "Yell, son of Tengri," they cried, "we offer you not in fear but in understanding." The wind stilled. For a heartbeat, the world was silent. Then, a voice, deep as the earth and sharp as a scimitar, spoke from the clouds. "You think I am the storm," Yell's voice rumbled, "but I am the breath of Tengri himself. This trial is not punishment. It is a plea. The balance of the sky is broken. Only a mortal who listens to the wind's duality may restore it." Korkut, trembling, stepped forward. "What must I do?" he asked, his voice raw from the storm. Yell's form shifted, wolf-man, storm, until he stood before the youth, his eyes like twin comets. "Offer your breath," the god said, "not as a sacrifice, but as a pact. Let the wind carry your voice, your will, your soul. Only then will the storm know peace." Korkut knelt, his hands pressing into the earth. He inhaled deeply, then exhaled not a breath, but a cry that echoed across the steppes. The wind rose, not in fury but in harmony. The clouds parted, revealing Tengri's face, serene. The drought ended. Rivers swelled, the herds returned. But as the storm passed, Korkut's voice was gone. His name, once sung by the Bögen, was now carried only by the wind. The steppes remembered him not as a hero, but as a whisper in the storm, a lesson etched into the sky. To command the wind is to defy the heavens. To listen is to survive. With the rise of Islam, Yell's storms were reinterpreted as Allah's will, yet his image lingered in the wind's howl, in the rustle of steppe grass, in the eyes of shepherds who still whispered to the sky. The Bögen's chants faded, replaced by the call to prayer, but the storm's duality, creation and destruction, remained etched in the bones of the Turkic people. In Anatolia, tales of hurricane spirits persisted, their voices carried by the Aegean winds, while in the Kazakh steppes, nomads spoke of Yell as a wolf with wings, a guardian of the land who tested the faithful. By the 20th century, scholars like Mircea Eliade and Turkish historians such as Halil İnalcık unearthed fragments of Yell's myth, weaving them into the tapestry of pre-Islamic Turkic identity. In Bishkek, a mural of Yell as a storm-wreathed wolf now stands beside the mausoleum of Tengri, a symbol of unity between ancient and modern. In Istanbul, a contemporary artist named Ayşe Yilmaz reimagines Yell in a series of silk tapestries, where wind motifs spiral into the shape of a wolf's snarl, a reminder of the god's wrath and mercy. Yet the lesson of Yell endures beyond art. In the Altay Mountains, herders still perform rituals before storms, offering juniper and eagle feathers to the wind, a practice echoing the Bögen's rites. Today, climate scientists studying the steppes note how Turkic nomads' understanding of weather patterns, rooted in Yell's myth, mirrors modern meteorological data.